All right, here we go. Welcome to Montana. We are in the beginning of what will hopefully be a fun few days of exploration of Yellowstone and the surrounding area. It was an early morning, got up about 4:30, drove to Reno, Nevada, and from Reno, got a plane to Portland, had a quick layover in Portland, and then flew to Bozeman. Just picked up my fancy rental car, and we're off. So I'm headed on I-90 east toward Livingston, if you're familiar, and then we're gonna head south to the Gardiner area, which will be home base for the next few days. So, hoping to see some elk in the rut. It is the height of fall, and that will be fun. So, I've heard bears are active. I've heard wolves are active. We'll see what we can see. But there's a couple things that could make this trip unique. The first is rain in the forecast. I've got basically 4 days to run around and shoot photos, and like 2 of those look like a pretty good chance of rain. The rest of it, I'm kind of happy about the overcast skies and cloud cover, because anytime you have a bunch of clouds, it allows you to shoot photos later into the day, kind of skip that harsh light of the middle of the day. So clouds are great. I'm excited about the clouds. We'll see what the rain does. I mean, I'm prepared for it. It might just keep the crowds away, which would be nice, because I'm really not looking forward to doing Yellowstone when there's a lot of other people around, and kind of the peak of fall is one of those times. So I'm not excited about, you know, the bear jams and the crowds. Not my scene at all, but we'll deal with it. We'll see what that looks like. The other piece of the puzzle is an impending government shutdown. The government is on the verge of shutdown because they can't pass a budget, and if that happens, that affects national parks kind of differently, depending on the situation, depending on the park, depending on, you know, which way the wind's blowing. But Yellowstone in the past has closed all services and left the gates open. That leads to, you know, big messes and people being idiots. So there's some push for them to shut everything down. That will be on day 3 of this trip if it happens. We'll see. Hopefully that doesn't happen, or if it does happen, you can still get in, you know. So those are the question marks. All right, we're inside Yellowstone, and I just had my first bear jam, and it was a little bit frustrating. There was a bunch of cars stopped, so I stopped, and immediately a ranger pulls up and starts kicking everybody out. Like, there were 2 bears. There was a mom and a cub, and I had about 25 seconds to crack off a bunch of shots. I could only see the cub. Mom was kind of down in the trees. I got a few pictures of the cub, but then the ranger's booting everybody because the road is narrow, and like it's this situation. I mean, you can't do much. So he was making everybody move. I don't know where he came from. I think they have like a helicopter and they drop out of the sky whenever they see that happen. It's amazing how fast he was there, but cool to see a bear. Anyway, I was feeling pretty quiet and slow until that bear sighting. So, way to kick it off. Nailed the fall colors. Onward. Headed into Lamar Valley, and we'll kind of cruise through there and see what we can see. If I see the the wolf people up on a hill somewhere. I'll probably go up there and see if I can see what they're looking at through their scopes. There's a couple groups of very dedicated wolf watchers, and they're very easy to find. If you ever come to Lamar Valley and you want to see a wolf, look on every hilltop within striking distance of the road and find a group of people with spotting scopes. There are a couple websites where these guys publish their sort of intel on the wolves, and I follow those also. So I'm going to go to a couple spots. Usually before I come, I will read up on kind of where activity has been, and then it's a little easier to aim in the right part of Lamar Valley to see what you can see. But the light's starting to go. It's cloudy, so it's not going to be very bright for too much longer, but that's all right. You get what you get. So this is supposedly where my camera was pointing. There's a little grove of aspen up there, and these guys spotted there was a wolf hanging out up there, which is cool, but they didn't see it, and the people before them saw it, and it was like 20 minutes ago that anybody saw this thing, so nobody really knows that it was actually there. And I mean, it probably was. It's in the right spot, you know, but the sun is also going down, light is fading. I mean, it's a long ways away. Not worth it to me to spend the last precious moments of sunlight staring at a grove of trees, you know, just hoping that a wolf pops out. But who knows? Kind of over that way. But that was all the excitement there. Was a wolf that may or may not be there. I mean, if you've never seen a wolf, and there's a good chance one might pop out of those trees, you know, 400 yards away or further, you know, I'd stay. But I've seen them closer than that, and for me, it's not worth the last bit of sunlight, because who knows what might be up the road, right? I went on through most of the valley, saw some bison, set up the tripod at one point, because some folks were gathered on the side of the road looking at a black bear that was 2 miles away. I never actually saw it through my lens, but yeah, pretty sunset, amazing fall colors. I nailed the fall colors. So it's the very end of September, if you're watching this, September 29th, and fall is peaking. in Lamar Valley at least. And I've heard it's good on the southern end of the park and the Tetons and stuff also. So there you go. Cruising on back to Gardiner, and it'll be dark by the time I get there. It's 5:30 a.m. Leaving Gardiner for first full day in the park. So this is the spot, the area where I guess the Junction Butte wolf pack has been spotted the last few mornings. So gonna scope it for a while, but awesome morning in Yellowstone, man. Wow. Okay, that's definitely really cool. Basically, this was kind of the area where I've been reading online that the Junction Butte wolf pack has been spotted on that hill back there. And it's amazing to get a look at them like that, but at a great distance, right? Most of these people will sit there all day and look at, you know, black dots on a distant hillside. And that's great. And that's like, if all you've come for is to see a wolf, observing them like that is very cool. But if you're a wildlife photographer and you've kind of done that and seen them, it's like, you're burning daylight, you know? So I don't want to sit there for hours and watch the wolves on a, you know, hillside 2 miles away. But man, there are people just lined up, you know, looking on that ridge, which is fun. Again, a mob of people. I'm not crazy about being a part of the mob, I guess, but we got to see some wolves, so check that off the list. Maybe we'll have a better encounter with another pack later in the day. But I'm gonna cruise on up through Lamar Valley because, you know, we're getting into the best daylight, best activity. The morning's usually where you want to be, so see what else we can see. Maybe we can get a coyote or some bison or something up here. But I wanted to hopefully make that happen one of these mornings and see those wolves, and very happy to do that, even if, you know, they're really, really far away. Cool to watch them. It's crazy they're you know, just doing their thing out there, not knowing that they're the stars of the show. I do feel like, and this may not be a popular opinion, but it feels slower to me with wildlife sightings than it does in the winter. I've been here 2 different winters, and this is my first time in the fall. And I mean, the fall colors are amazing. The stuff I'm seeing is cool, but I'm seeing less of it. When I was here in the winter, it feels like more of the animals are kind of down in the valleys, and you bump into them more often. It's just, I'm going long stretches without seeing anything, and that just wasn't the case the last time I was here in the winter. You know, there were pronghorn and mule deer and bison and, you know, coyotes, and felt like there was stuff everywhere. So this definitely feels slower. Well, I just had a fun bear encounter, and I forgot you guys. I got lost in the moment. Didn't even get the GoPro out. But right near the road, and there was only a couple people there, and it was sweet. Little black bear, just like foraging. Took a little video clip and a bunch of pictures. So fun deal. The bear count goes up. So I stopped to see what these guys were looking at, and they're looking like literally almost that far mountain range, and they've got like 3 wolves bedded down. And I looked through one of their spotting scopes, and through the spotting scope, I mean, it's a pretty powerful scope. These things are like specks on the horizon. Yeah, way out, probably 5 miles away or more, but not even worthy of my 800mm lens. But I've got my my South Africa sticker on my lens hood, and one of the guys there piped up, and is a South African dude, was all excited to see my sticker. We talked about Kruger National Park for a few minutes, so he was fun. All right, onward. I'm headed to Hayden Valley and beyond. I'm gonna kind of work my way south. I've got really good cloud cover today, so I might make this the day where I go all the way down to get a view of the Tetons, because I'm not gonna make it to the Tetons for sunrise. It's just not gonna happen, because I'm staying way up north. So I'm gonna maybe get down there while I've got some good cloud cover and try to get some photos, because harsh light is bad, and that's the only time of day I'm going to be able to get down there is the middle of the day. So maybe we'll catch it with good light. So I asked the gal at the gate this morning about the impending government shutdown, and she said, I haven't been told anything about that. She was like, you know as much as I do, which is exactly what the guy said yesterday, which makes me think they've been instructed to say that. I think they know exactly what they're gonna do, but it's not clear if they're gonna close gates or not close gates. So if the government shuts down, which it's supposed to do, I guess, this is my last full day in the park. Hopefully they just leave the gates open and let people in, but we'll see. super foggy on Mount Washburn. I'm losing hope that I'm gonna even see the Tetons if I even get down there that far. Maybe it'll burn off. So I just pulled up in Hayden Valley here, and there was a mob of people at this turnout looking up there. And I couldn't find what they were looking at. And then all of a sudden on the ridge, this shape popped up right along the ridge line, moving like that way. And I jumped out of the car and got a few shots off. And it was a wolf, and it was super cool. So I got a few shots off. That's pretty zoomed in, but pretty sweet. Trotting along the ridge. Very cool. All right, taking a little hike. A friend of mine who's a photographer said in this area, in the meadows that I'm gonna get to in a little bit, he's gotten great gray owls, which is kind of a bucket list critter. They're in the neighborhood, but hard to track down. So thought I'd take a walk though, because I'm here and I'm talking, because there could be bears. So you're supposed to make noise, right? I'm unpacking bear spray. Fear not. But I don't know if I'm gonna drop my camera to get to that or not. I'm gonna have to make that decision. But we'll see if we can get any cool wildlife. All right, out on the trail, I found some carnivore poo, man. It's like deer hair. Yeah. Probably a wolf. I've seen mountain lion poo, and it's a little bit more segmented than that. I would guess that was a wolf. All right, a little further up the trail, we got more. All kinds of hair. So two of them makes me think wolves, because I can just picture them running along the trail, and one of them has to go, and then the other one's like, you know what, I'm gonna go too. Well, those weren't too far apart. All right, survived. Back to the car. No bears, no owls. So we move on, and I'm gonna keep on working my way south. This is like the Yellowstone Lake kind of neighborhood. So cool area. All this kind of like meadow surrounded by short trees, kind of low perches, is great gray owl like habitat. They love it. So one day I want to see one of those. I've never seen one, but I thought it was worth a walk. Went through a bunch of those meadows and nothing. I mean, you're not going to see one unless it moves. They are so camouflaged, but if you see one, you know, hunting or something, that's the goal. So I'll probably cruise back through here tomorrow if I can get in the park because of the government shutdown. We'll see. All right, I've made it to Grand Teton National Park, heading south. Amazing fall color in the Tetons. Now it is, what is it, September 30th. But the clouds are pretty much covering the Tetons. They're kind of breaking out every once in a while, it looks like. So we'll either get some really good drama in the clouds, or I will never actually get to see the Tetons. But I'm gonna keep going down to the river and, you know, get in some of those iconic spots and see what we can see. Might be awesome. Might be just a bit short, but it's worth the drive. so far just for the fall color. Here's some coming out the window. It's pretty sweet. It's really peaking, so fun deal. So the Tetons have been like a landscape break, man. It's been amazing with the fall colors, but the mountains are pretty shrouded in clouds. There's been some like dramatic clouds, but you can't ever get a look at the whole mountains all at once. So good and bad. But I'm gonna turn around and not go all the way down to like the Mormon Row area and all those like famous landscape barns and stuff, because I'm not gonna get the mountains behind him like you want. Anyway, I just talked to a guy who told me where he saw some elk here in the Tetons just a couple hours ago. So decent chance they'll still be hanging out. And I can give that a shot. So I'm gonna swing back up there, and then from there I'm gonna head on back up through Yellowstone. But yeah, it's perfect fall colors in the Tetons. Nailed it. So that's been very fun. Very rainy, drizzly, gray day. Not a lot of sunlight, but not a lot of harsh light. So kind of what I asked for, actually. But I mean, look at this. Everywhere you look, it's just crazy colors. I'm headed up Mount Washburn on my way back north, and the light is starting to go. It's 6 o'clock, but we just had a massive bear jam back there, and there was a young grizzly, which was super fun, pretty close to the road. And I was standing there with the ranger and 100 other people. But the bear started wandering a little closer to the road. So the ranger like did the whole like yell and clap your hands thing to try to kind of discourage the bear from coming closer. And it looked up and gave me like a handful of very sweet shots, because it was kind of face down in the brush most of the time. But pretty cool moment. So add the grizzly to the list, and we'll keep cruising. But that was a fun one. All right, end of a good day in Yellowstone. I'm headed back to Gardiner, get some food and go to bed. Yes, I do have glasses, by the way. I made it to, I think, 46 before I needed to get glasses. I rarely wear them, but when I'm driving sometimes, especially when I'm tired, I want them, man. And I want them watching movies now. I'm turning a corner. But anyway, I can see Mammoth Hot Springs over there on the horizon, which means I'm 20 minutes from dinner. So, well, I've been striking out on elk, and just hit Mammoth Hot Springs. I got an appointment with that guy tomorrow. The old Yellowstone entrance road is a dirt road that runs kind of from Gardiner, Montana, on the opposite side of the river, on its way out of town. And that is a hangout. I know in the wintertime, that's where the bighorn sheep kind of congregate. I've taken photos of pronghorn and elk and other critters out there, and it's a popular low spot in the valley. So I'm not gonna go into the park yet. I'm gonna go out that road and with this first light of day and see if I can find some elk. And then I might hang out closer to Mammoth, and I mean, elk are kind of my big list today. I want to get those, you know, done. And so that's the hope. I also heard a rumor that the park is not going to close the gates and all that for the government shutdown, which did happen. The government shut down at midnight last night, and I was kind of stressing about that, but someone told me on my Facebook page who sounded like they knew some insider info, and gates are going to be open. They might close some bathrooms and not empty the trash, that kind of thing, or lock the trash. So it may not affect me much at all. That's the hope. I'll know in a couple hours when I try to go through the gate, I guess. But let's go get some elk. All right, that was mostly a success. Only one really big male, and he was a little further away than I wanted, but found some elk, man. A couple hundred cows and a whole bunch of, you know, little males kind of hanging away from everybody else, of course. But I'm headed back into Gardiner. I just filled my car up for 36 bucks. Welcome to Montana. And I'm gonna head into the park and go see what big bulls I can find around Mammoth Hot Springs, which is supposed to be kind of the hot spot. I did bump into that one late last night. Be sweet to find him somewhere. Hi there.
Morning, you all good? Have a nice day.
What are the impacts of the shutdown?
So we're not collecting any fees here at the gates, and like visitor centers, they'll be closed. Roads are still open, general stores are, so taking it day by day.
Cool. Thanks. That's crazy. They're not collecting any fees because of the government shutdown. That's a little bit of a backfire if you're the government, isn't it? I don't know, man. Why put an employee there and then not collect fees? She's probably not getting paid either. So dumb. Slow morning so far with wildlife. I swung down and did the Norris Geyser Basin walk, not expecting to see any wildlife, but you know, you got to do one of those, see some of the fumaroles and geysers and springs and all that. And those places are crowded, man. Tons of people. Which is, I was thinking, like, a lot of people come to the park and do that stuff. Like, they want to go see Old Faithful and go to all the like things that are on the map and do those things. And there's less people out like actively looking for wildlife. So I'm perfectly happy to stay away from those crowded places and look for wildlife, you know. But it means some driving and some dry spells. But anyway, I'm headed now over to, I think I'm gonna go through Hayden Valley again, maybe all the way down to the north end of Yellowstone Lake, where you might see a great gray owl. I can't get that out of my head. That would be so cool. But not likely, but might be worth the drive. Who knows what else you'll see on the way, right? This campground is closed for the season. A photographer friend told me on Facebook to go poke around this campground for great gray owls. Because they're here quite a bit, I guess. And it makes sense more so when it's closed. But he said a friend of his had one here just a couple days ago. So, worth looking. Kind of these meadows on the edge. All that's like ideal habitat. So, I'm gonna look around. Just had a fun coyote encounter. These things happen too fast to get the camera out and document the moment, man. It's like, get the shot and you know, then everything's over and you're like, oh, I should have filmed that. I got a little video of the coyote though. That was kind of cool. All right, I'm gonna scope out this meadow for a while. Basically looking for movement because you are not gonna find one of these birds if it's not moving. They just vanish. Well, nothing, nada. I saw a bird, I got all excited, but it was an uncool bird. Yellowstone Lake. That is a massive body of water, man. So there was a grizzly up there. Kind of went in this ravine. So all these people bailed down here. That was cool. Definitely a good look at a grizzly digging for rodents or roots or something, bugs. I don't know. But wasn't doing much else, so I'm gonna move on. Got some cool video and photos though. All right, you got the ongoing bear jam thing. I was kind of in this lineup. Madness. It's what David Attenborough would call a grizzly bear. It's still in the same place. These guys are going to get a better view up there. Total bear jam. It's amazing. But you know what? Really, once you stop, you got to walk a little bit because there's not much, places to park. But it doesn't feel crowded or annoying when you're sitting there watching a bear. Everybody's being quiet and respectful, and I don't know. It's a little bit hectic, but it's not awful. And you get to where you start to look forward to seeing a bunch of cars on the side of the road because you're like, what do they see? Let's stop, kind of break the monotony of not seeing wildlife for a while. But that was quite a jam. That would be cool if that bear was sort of working its way down the hill towards us. If it, you know, came down across the road or something, you could get some close-up photos. But I don't know if it's worth sitting there for an hour just in case. You know, I got closer photos of a grizzly yesterday, and I feel pretty good about that. So I'm not going to ride it out. Anyway, thoughts on a bear jam by Randy Robbins. All right, that was some good action. I just stopped here because this is the area on this pass where I saw grizzly last night, and this was kind of where it was. So I pulled over, kind of looking down because they're eating on like those willows and stuff. So I stopped here and was just standing there looking over the hill, and all of a sudden cars start stopping up here on this corner, and there's like nowhere to pull over up there, but clearly a bear jam. So I just walked up there and got some sweet shots, way closer than that one down in the valley. So kind of fun redemption for leaving the scene of that other one. But we'll show you the bear jam. Maybe we'll get a glimpse on the GoPro. It was close to the road. It's kind of right in all these trees right here. These guys look like they're seeing it up that way. But you can kind of see the scene. So it was kind of popping in and out of those trees, and then it would pop out like way closer than you want to be to a grizzly. But kind of safety in numbers in that situation. A bear's not going to come down to the road, but pretty exciting. Fun deal. Moving on. Mountain goats. They are way up there. Pretty far up the mountain, but cool to see them from a distance. This, by the way, is my very cool, this guy. It's made by Three-Legged Thing. It's a window clamp that you can put like any tripod head on. And turns your car into a tripod, basically. Well, Mammoth Hot Springs is where this guy wants to hang out. I'd love him sitting on a mountaintop somewhere, but this is his lawn, apparently. I'm cruising the old entrance road again, looking for elk. And I feel like I must be late for the main part of the rut. Like, it feels like all the males are more or less separated out. I haven't seen any, you know, posturing or conflict between the males. The young males are all separated out, and there's just massive herds of cows with like one bull, and it seems like it's more post-rut than mid-rut, which seems a little early. I don't know, based on everything I've been hearing, I'm right on, but I don't know, that's my take. The tons of elk, most of them are down in the valley out of the park, but I'm finding them, but I'm not finding rut action. This road also kind of reinforces my thoughts about winter versus fall. It feels just deserted, like, mostly because the bighorn sheep are here in the winter, I guess. But I've seen like a handful of pronghorn and elk, and that's it on this drive. And in the winter, man, there were buffalo out here, there was bighorn sheep everywhere, there were elk, there were pronghorn, mule deer. It was a party on this road, and it just feels like everybody's more spread out, I guess. Wintertime kind of brings all the guys together, is my take. I don't know. It's like a trade-off for the beauty of the fall colors and all that. I think if you were purely wanting to bump into more wildlife, minus bears, you should come in the winter and do Lamar Valley and all that in like November, December. November for the bighorn rut, and early December, mid-December, before it's really snowy. You just got to deal with the cold, but I think you're going to see more critters. All right, good morning. I'm going to grab some coffee in Gardiner, and we're going to hit it again. See what we can see. I've got a couple destinations potentially in mind for today, so should be another good one. Raining again. It's been coming and going in the mornings. This right here, the Bear's Brew. Welcome to Mammoth Hot Springs. Looking for the bull. Sure, it's that dude I was looking at yesterday. There he is. Big old chunk. That's way cool, watching those big old elk like that. But man, I wish it wasn't in the middle of a little town. It's funny. I want the nature shot, you know, because that's not really what I'm after. But fun watching them. All right, I'm gonna keep cruising. I think we're gonna go over Mount Washburn again this morning because there's that grizzly hanging out on top, and I'd like to go on the road over towards Cody, Wyoming, kind of by Fishing Bridge and all that again. So cruise back through that area. I decided to do this drive on the Blacktail Plateau. I've never done it, so it seems silly not to do it. I have seen nearby in the winter, I've seen red foxes up here. And I know the Junction Butte wolves cruise through here. Not likely, but I like a little dirt road with no other people on it, so we're gonna cruise it. This is a pretty cool drive. This road's obviously closed in the winter. It kind of parallels the main road, but gets you up in the hills a little bit. It feels like doing a hike with no effort. There's a couple of, like way down in those aspen, there's a bison down there, and it had its back to me, and man, the color on its back looks so much like a grizzly from a distance. Threw me off. There's a guy. I wonder if I can get a face shot of that guy. He'll stare at me. I will say this about the Toyota RAV4 rental. The windows are too short, man. I hit my head on this thing like constantly, and the pillar is like the windshield's too flat. Like I want a taller windshield and a taller pillar and higher windows. I'm not a huge fan of the RAV4. I mean, if you have to choose, if you're picking a rental car, RAV4 is not it. For photography purposes. This drive is beautiful. If you come in the fall, you got to do the Blacktail Plateau drive. It's fun. Well, I just started a bear jam. I was driving through Hayden Valley, and people are kind of disappearing now, but I spotted a coyote pretty close to the road, and it was hunting, and I stopped. There was nobody here. I stopped and sat on the curb and started taking pictures, and it was working its way closer and closer. Got some fun photos of it catching a vole or something out of the ground. But man, then I looked up and there was like 100 people standing behind me. It was kind of funny. I didn't even realize how many people were pulling up. But fun sighting. Cool to see a coyote doing its thing. All right, this was a first. This dude walking up here. We had a big old bear jam. There's another bear jam right around the corner. There's like 2 bears hanging out, but this guy right here, getting in his car, was my first totally unprovoked, like out of nowhere in a different state. Like, oh, hey, are you Randy? And we had like this big old chat about Sierra Nevada red foxes. Because he follows my stuff on YouTube and was all excited about meeting me. Crazy. Thanks, Tim. It's making my head swell. John Muir, who I'm a huge fan of, says this about Yellowstone National Park in an essay that he wrote about a trip he took to the park. And he says, the regular trips from 3 to 5 days are too short. Nothing can be done well at a speed of 40 miles a day. The multitude of mixed novel impressions rapidly piled on one another make only a dreamy, bewildering, swirling blur, most of which is unrememberable. Far more time should be taken. Walk away quietly in any direction and taste the freedom of the mountaineer. Camp out among the grass in glacier meadows, in craggy garden nooks full of nature's darlings. Climb the mountains and get their good tidings. Nature's peace will flow into you as sunshine flows into trees. The winds will blow their own freshness into you, and the storms their energy, while cares will drop off like autumn leaves. As age comes on, one source of enjoyment after another is closed, but nature's sources never fail. I think a bear jam would be about the most irritating thing in the world to John Muir. But this is kind of how we do it now, right? We come and cover a bunch of ground and see as much wildlife as we can, take photos, take it all in, and move on to the next thing. And I think there's some wisdom and you know, obvious like benefit to spending time in any place and really getting to know it. But at the same time, I feel when you're out for photos, it's like fishing. You can either sit in one spot and hope that something comes to you, or you can cover ground, you know? So I feel like I'm trolling for photos, moving through the park. What an experience, though. I'm blessed to be here again and can't wait to get home and edit a bunch of photos. I'm gonna do a little bit of a gamble here, and I'm gonna go to a spot that a friend told me about that's out of the park, not too far away, where there's a good chance of seeing grizzlies, usually in the evening, I guess. So I'm gonna do that. I'm leaving the park, and I'm gonna go a little ways north. I don't want to say the place because I don't know if it's like much of a secret, but I don't want to make it famous, you know. But we'll see what we get on the way. I'm gonna take this dirt road and maybe see what I can see on the way. Well, very cool to get some time. That kind of makes up for what felt like kind of losing battle on the elk front. I mean, that was a cool scene. That was a younger bull. It was not a massive bull, but big enough to gather his own little harem and kind of keep them corralled. So he's won a couple fights, but fun to watch them. Took some fun photos of those guys. So moving on, I'm gonna go to this potential grizzly sighting place. Got some time before sunset, so I'm hoping to get there before it's getting you know, bad light. So no bears in sight at this point, but we are spending time glassing, as they say, to see the bears hopefully move out of the hills down into the flats near all these aspen. We'll see. Supposedly, this is a nightly occurrence, almost. Some amazing fall colors out there. All right, well, I was starting to have my doubts about whether there would ever be any grizzlies in this area. I actually sat for, man, an hour plus, hour and a half, just looking on the horizon, glassing with the camera and seeing nothing, and finally decided to move. Not only did I see the house that I want to live in Montana, complete with what I assume is a photo blind in the backyard, but I wound up seeing 5, I think, grizzlies together. I think I saw a mom and 2 cubs with another mom and 1 cub, and then 3 more joined the party a little bit later. So what is that, 8 grizzlies at a distance, you know, but definitely spotted some grizz action. So worth the drive, man. Pretty cool. So I didn't see anything, you know, close up, but you can definitely see the potential for that in this area, with the way they kind of moved. They had to have been bedded down. Like, I'm driving by all this aspen and stuff. You know, they were close to the road at one point, and if you were in the right place at the right time, you'd have a close encounter up here. Well, good morning. It's my final day in Montana and Wyoming. I had to make the tough decision to not go back in the park this morning. I've got to hit the road and get to Bozeman to catch my flight. So that's gonna do it, man. The end of the line. I could have gotten up at like 5 and gone in and had 10 minutes of decent light, you know, and then I'd be dashing back. So seemed foolish, but there's always next time. This was a sweet trip. I feel like I was expecting more out of the elk rut than I got. I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of bear encounters I had. And I was kind of surprised at the fall vibe just with wildlife. They seem more spread out, a little harder to find. Encounters were a little less frequent than my winter trips have been. But I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody's got. If you want to, you know, let me know in the comments, whatever. Message me on Facebook. But I'll answer what I can. Thanks for tagging along. And this is gonna conclude this awesome Yellowstone trip of the fall of 2025. So we'll see you out there.